Well, it's a beautiful book. In in our previous conversations, you've written a lot about Dharma or sacred duty. Do we have a universal call, you think, to realize our connectedness with with individuals in the way of this deep friendship and the larger whole?
Joshua, the contemplative traditions, both yoga and Buddhism, have been brilliant at this. They realize there's something in the Buddhist tradition called the three marks of existence: impermanence, no self, and suffering. No self is usually translated no self, but actually, what it really means is the self is profoundly interdependent. The self is actually co-created out of deep relationship from the very beginning of our babyhood until we die. And the continuing growth of the self relies on these deep connections that we have at hopefully at every stage of our life. We have a built-in radar for at every stage of our life, we have different developmental needs, right? And we have a built-in
Mm.
radar for that person who will provide the exact needs hand in glove that we psychologically need at that point in our development. So for whatever reason, the Buddhists say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the person is ready, the friend appears. And that friend can be a
Mm.
romantic partner or can be a platonic friend or can be whatever, can be completely surprising, but we have radar for that. And when we see it, we know it, we smell it, we don't even understand why, but we're drawn toward it. And the reason why is because it's going to create the next iteration of us. Just like my deep friendship with Brian has created an iteration of me that I never would have expected. But what I had that
Mm.
I credit to my long meditation practice is I trusted it in spite of my mind perhaps saying, well, you don't have anything in common with Brian. I trusted it and I went with it. And wow.
Mm.
So, yeah, we do have, there's a deep inner knowing and a call for that relationship. I wrote about with most of the chapters I wrote about both my own life and my own friend at each of those stages. And I wrote about a great life and I wrote about Eleanor Roosevelt, who found her when she went to school in England at 16. She found the woman, the motherly woman, the container, the woman who was going to safely hold and soothe her in the headmistress of the school. It was exactly what she needed. And like fire and gasoline, they went together and they were together for 2 years while Eleanor was in school. And it completely, I don't want to say completely, it profoundly healed the lack of mothering that she'd had prior to that. But they both recognized this ineffable connection and they went for it. It's a beautiful story.
Yeah. How do you make sense of what's been called in modern times this epidemic of loneliness? I was looking at some of the stats of this is pre-pandemic, but basically the reported numbers on loneliness of I want to say in the 70s it was 11%, and then just before the pandemic up around
Mm.
60% or so. So really a drastic increase in this reported feeling
Yeah.
of loneliness.
You know, in order to have a real connection, the kind that's healing and that promotes development, one has to be authentic. Like you have to be your true self. You have to reveal who you are in the moment. That deep connection, that friendship is going to strip away any layers of pretense and you're going to be seen and known for who you are.